What's up, guys? It's Maverick here today with another episode of Isekai Meikyuu de Harem. Anyways, last episode we finally got to our first go. Roxanne, Michio finally got the funds to completely buy her, and of course that was also a result of his own persistence as well. I mean, the man's got his priorities straight, I guess you could say. But anyways, so now that we have Roxanne on board, the next few episodes should be like bonding time between Michio and Roxanne. And yes, bonding time does include sexy times as well, because what better way to increase your bonds? So anyways, I think a lot of people are waiting for that. I'm sure that the anime will show it in its full glory. But beyond that though, there's also another kind of bonding, which is the actual, like, going into the Meikyuu, going into the Labyrinth and fighting part, right? Which I presume we will also start from this episode as well. And potentially in the next few episodes, I mentioned before that the pacing of this particular work is actually quite slow, although the anime seems to want to speed things forward. So we'll have to see about that. In any case, let's get right into the episode. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Of all the things that they chose to put into the anime, I find that kind of funny. That was like a specifics kind of thing there. Basically, the way that Michio asked for, a room for two, right? Like, what kind of bed is it? No, every time I look at this opening, I'm just still thinking, like, how exactly, like, because it actually doesn't make sense for them to put these girls in here if they're not going to do anything to showcase them, right? So I have this sneaking suspicion. I really hope it's not, but I have this sneaking suspicion that they are going to do numerous time skips here. And then, like, it might be like one episode, new girl, one episode, new girl, something like that, without really actually going through the phases of getting to know all the girls and having, like, a normal development and whatnot. Now, they shouldn't have said yes, master, at that point, because she actually hasn't confirmed, like. Actually, I'm not quite. I don't quite remember. Like, at this point in time, have they confirmed how to call each other yet? But at least in terms of at least what she said in Japanese, she didn't really say "Goshujin-sama" or whatnot. Ah, see, here we go, right? So like okay. That's yeah. I was like, there's not really, that's not really supposed to happen yet. Yet. Yeah, double bed. In all honesty, though, once you get to know Roxanne's personality, the reason that she's scared might not necessarily be, because of that. The offer never really mentioned this fully, but mm, and I don't think it's a good thing to discuss it right now either, because it's kind of spoilery, even though it's. Magic! Like, Roxanne is a very earnest girl. She's a really earnest girl. Old habits die hard, right? Michio is, of course, still using, like, modern world, real world logic in terms of this. The anticipation! It's not really some. That's actually supposed to be the custom here. So that's why, like... Like, am I supposed to comment over here? I think this is the first time that I'm watching something on this channel that's a little bit more... Like, sure, I watched, like, Redo of Healer, right? But if I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure that this work is a little bit more... I wouldn't say more explicit, but there's more chances for things to happen, let's just say. So, anyways, if you guys recall, like, what the conversation that they had earlier, right, where Roxanne was talking about, okay, so, you know, for sexy times, I'll be on the bed, but after that, I'll sleep on the floor, right? So, you know, when going back and talking about, like, twin bed versus double bed, like, my interpretation, especially since later on, you know, I got to know Roxanne's personality a lot more. You know, you could view it as instantly being shy because of, you know, because of sharing a bed and whatnot. But to be honest, if once we know like what Roxanne's mindset actually is, she doesn't really have a anticipation of being able to sleep on a bed. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be watching the uncensored version here on YouTube. You know, to be entirely honest, I feel like Roxanne's proportions are a little bit too ridiculous in a lot of ways. Like the way the girls are, in especially like Michio's girls in this particular work, it's like two extremes, to be honest. That was a little hint right there, right? She feels pleased. She's happy. So basically, she's the even though she's like wolfkin, right? She's more like, in terms of how she normally acts. It's and the her devotion towards Michio and whatnot. It's really much more reminiscent of a dog-like character. So see, that's why, like, to be honest, I keep on thinking like she's very similar to Raftelia from Shield Hero. Honestly, their personalities are quite similar in a lot of ways. Honestly, I'm actually thinking back. Like, how many times has she worn that particular outfit? Not that many, to be honest. Okay, so how exactly is the censored version going to do all of this? So, eh, like I said, I'm not quite sure like whether or not I should do any commentary at this point, or maybe I should just let everybody enjoy the scene. But why would you need to censor a freaking kiss? That's stupid. Hmm. I wonder if like Roxanne's reactions are also muted for the censored version, right? Yeah, it's much more of a much more of a vanilla-esque kind of. Oh, actually, no, wait, never mind. So I guess for the censored version, they don't explicitly show the actual scenes, right? Okay, okay. But again, I'm not going to be watching the uncensored version here on this channel. Like everybody can go enjoy that in your own private times. I'm not gonna because I do like show a little bit of the subtitles and whatnot. I'm not gonna risk getting flagged or whatnot over this. And she takes that very seriously. The thing I find the most funny is that this is probably the episode that they most faithfully followed the pacing of the novels and manga. I guess that's to be expected, right? I'll see you guys after this. Well, alright guys, that was episode 4. Hope you guys have all enjoyed it. Like, there's not really too much for me to comment on in this episode, right? It's just them having a great time, having a fun time. And again, like, for how, how shy and whatnot that Roxanne acts here, knowing how she acts later on and whatnot is just, it's honestly kind of refreshing in a lot of ways. But do expect this a lot more later on as well. I mean, compared to like it's not entirely like a hentai or an H series or whatnot, but the author does take the time to shower these scenes in between a lot of different in a lot of different chapters and whatnot. Like I can this might be spoilerless, but they already mentioned that they're going into the Labyrinth next episode, right? So there's going to be typically how the structure of the series goes is that there will be like a portion of the chapters dedicated to the or like a few chapters dedicated to the fighting stuff, actually going into the labyrinth, exploring, leveling up, and trying out new things, etc., etc. There's a portion that's dedicated to like just doing some random stuff, including, like I said, some like everyday stuff. Like Michio has this passion for food, and he's always trying to create different foods or get different foods and so on and so forth. So we have some time dedicated to that, and then occasionally, I would say like less than 10% of the time, we will also have like a sex scene between Michio and one of the girls or multiple of the girls, right? Although, for all intents and purposes, like compared to a lot of other novels that do, that are 18 plus and so on and so forth, this series, like even though you look at the subject matter and whatnot and you say, okay, this might be one that has a lot of sexual deviancy and whatnot, in reality it's actually not. The most of the sex scenes here are very actually quite vanilla, all things considered. There's rarely like any special sort of play, if you will. So it's weird to use the word wholesome to describe it, but honestly, like compared to a lot of other series, I would say that the sort of sex scenes or erotic scenes in this particular work are quite vanilla and quite wholesome. We are obviously going at this from a more comparative sort of rating here, right? Like you guys saw what happened in this episode. Expect a lot more of the same, to be honest. I don't know if that counts that doesn't necessarily count as a spoiler. I feel it's just something I think people should know and understand about this series. Like, if you're going into this expecting like some really really ecchi and some really deviant stuff, then you've really come to the wrong place. This is not the type of series to do that. Instead, it's even though they like, looking at the first few episodes, you would think that Michio is just this this pervert who's I mean, it's kind of, you would be not too wrong to think of that, right? I mean, he literally spent his first fortune just buying a girl slave here. But in actuality, he's not, like, looking at what happened for this morning, right? At the end of this episode. Like, if it was like a lot of other type of, this kind of R18 rated plus, R18 rated, novels and whatnot, they would be doing it again in the morning, right? But for Michio, actually, no. He is more of a, sexy times is, at night or whatnot, and we just do it as is, and that's it. So, to be honest, it gets kind of, like, for me, it eventually evolves into something that's kind of sort of like clockwork in a lot of ways. So I feel like that's also why, like, for the latter parts of this series, I gradually, I have watched this read this for a very long time, but towards the end, I'm also feeling like, I think the author should try some stuff to spice things up and whatnot. But, beyond all that, right, like I said many times before, I'm not only watching this series because of these particular sex scenes and whatnot, but because I genuinely like the world setting that the author has done, and also the various different mechanics that he's showing, the attitude of the main character, etc., etc. So, once again, if you are just coming here into this series looking for the ecchi scenes, like, just go watch some hentai porn or whatnot. You would be much more satisfied by that. But if you are, to me, this really is a series. Like, think of something like, I don't know, what's a series with also lots of sex scenes and what, like I don't know, like Game of Thrones, for example. Like, obviously that's having the more sexy kind of scenes is a huge part of Game of Thrones, but beyond that, you're also looking at this for the overall story, and so that's kind of similar to how I view this particular series as well. You could find enjoyment in these particular scenes and whatnot, and certainly that's a big reason of why people watch this. Like I said, this particular episode, they made a pretty faithful adaptation of the source material here, like way more faithful than the previous few episodes here. But that's what they expected, right? But don't let this be just the focal point of this particular series. I think that's the main point that I've been trying to make throughout these first few episodes. Anyways, Roxanne, like, I don't really want to spoil too much about her. I feel like we should explore her personality together as time goes on. I'm sure, like, unless they do some stuff to really, like I said, they're trying to squish in a lot of the heroines into the storyline, like, within one season. If they do that, like, to be honest, I will be very, very disappointed. And then maybe, I don't know, I honestly might drop it if they choose to do something like that. But we'll have to see, right? But in any case, we can explore Roxanne's personality a lot more later on. But I feel like even in this episode, you can kind of get the feeling like what kind of girl she actually is, right? She's very earnest, she's very honest, and she's very well mannered. She likes to carry herself in a particular way, as per her role, as per her status as a slave. But she also has her pride, and her pride is mostly in terms of combat, right? And she has this warrior's heart to her as well. We've seen hints of this numerous times now within this particular episode. At least 2 or 3 different hints here that she knows what she's doing when she's handling a weapon or she's under a fighting sort of situation. And in the next episode, we will get the opportunity to see her shine. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. Like I said, I don't really want to talk too much more about Roxanne's personality, but once everybody gets to know her a lot more, you would think that this episode is really quite cute in a lot of ways, considering Roxanne's personality. In any case, next episode we should be, To be honest, I think there's probably still going to be like some erotic scenes, at least one per episode, if not every 2 episodes. But next episode will mostly be focused on going into the labyrinth and you know, knowing Roxanne's capabilities, and also really maybe making our first real foray into the dungeon, and you know, one full episode dedicated to it, and looking through different mechanics and looking through different skills, etc., etc., etc. So next, like, think of this particular episode as a sort of like in betweener, like a breather, right? I'm sure some people view this episode as the main course, but honestly, it is more like a dessert. And the next episode, we're going back to the main course in terms of going into the labyrinth and doing adventuring and so on and so forth, progressing within the dungeon. So that is it for this episode. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned. Bye bye.